Hello, so I will be reading the next chapter in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And this chapter is called The Pool of Tears, and here we have a picture to start us off. "Curiouser and curiouser," cried Alice. "I'm growing like a garden weed. Goodbye, feet." In fact, she had sprouted up to over 9 feet high. She grabbed the little golden key off the table and hurried back to the garden door. Poor Alice! Now she was too big to fit through the door, and all she could do was lie down on one side and look through into the garden with one eye. She sat up and began to cry again. "You ought to be ashamed of yourself," she said. "Crying like this? Stop it right now." But she went on, shedding gallons of tears until there was a large pool around her, about 4 inches deep and reaching halfway down the hall. She heard a little pattering of feet in the distance, and she quickly dried her eyes to see what was coming. It was the White Rabbit, all dressed up with a pair of white gloves in one hand and a large fan in the other. He was in a great hurry and muttering to himself, "Oh, the Duchess, the Duchess! Oh, she will be angry if I keep her waiting." Alice was desperate for help, so she decided to see if the rabbit might have some ideas. She said in a timid voice, "If you please, sir." And here's a picture of her trying to talk to the rabbit. The rabbit was startled. He dropped the white gloves and the fan and scurried away into the darkness as fast as he could. "Oh, now what am I going to do?" she sighed. Alice put the key on the table and picked up the fan and gloves. Since the hall was very hot, she fanned herself. "Who in the world am I?" she said. "I'm sure I'm not Ada or Mabel. Oh my, do I still remember all my school lessons?" Then she practiced her math and geography, which all came out wrong. "Everything is so different, and I am so different," she said, very confused. And here's a picture of her fanning herself, thinking about her classes from school. As she was talking, she looked down and saw that she had put on one of the little gloves. "Wait," she said, "how do I put on this glove? I must be growing small again. But how?" She had been cooling herself with the rabbit's fan. Suddenly she realized the fanning was making her grow smaller and smaller. She dropped the fan just in time. "That was close," said Alice, frightened at the sudden change, but very glad to find she was still in one piece. "Oh, the garden!" She ran as fast as she could back to the little door, but the little door was shut again, and the little golden key was lying on the glass table just like before. And here's a picture of her looking up at the glass table with the key. Suddenly she slipped. Splash! There she was, up to her chin in salt water. She had fallen into the pool of tears which she had cried when she was 9 feet high. "I wish I hadn't cried so much," said Alice as she swam around, trying to find a way out. "I hope I don't drown in my own tears." Just then she heard something splashing around in the pool, and she swam toward it. At first she thought it must be a walrus or a hippopotamus, but then she remembered how small she was and saw that it was only a mouse. "I wonder if I can speak to this mouse. There's no harm in trying," thought Alice. So she said, "Oh, mouse, do you know a way out of this pool?" And here's a picture of her asking the mouse. The mouse looked at her and seemed to her to wink with one of its little eyes, but it said nothing. "Perhaps it doesn't understand English," thought Alice. "Maybe it's a French mouse," so she said, "Où est ma chat?" which means, "Where is my cat?" The mouse jumped out of the water and fell back in, shaking with fright. "Oh, I am so sorry," cried Alice. "I forgot that you don't like cats." "Not like cats," cried the mouse. "Would you like cats if you were me?" The mouse was trembling down to the end of its tail. "Oh, I'm so sorry to have frightened you," said Alice. "Please don't swim away." "Let's get to the shore," replied the mouse, "and then I'll tell you why I hate cats." By this time the pool was getting crowded with the birds and animals that had fallen into it. There was a duck and a dodo, a lory and an eaglet, and several other strange creatures. Alice led the way, and the creatures followed her to shore. And that's the end of chapter 2. Make sure to write down everything you remember from the story and characters that were introduced or that were in this chapter. So there was Alice, the mouse, and the white rabbit. Thank you.